All right, and welcome back to Retire Right with Epstein and White. And we just had a fantastic discussion on why it's so important to take advantage of the rollover process. And now it's time for us to get into our financial tip of the week. And for this week, what we want to talk about is really the importance and why it's so crucial, really why it's all about avoiding those major losses in retirement. And I think that's something that's somewhat intuitive, right? Most people believe it's prudent as you go into retirement not to take too much risk and to make sure that you don't lose your nest egg. But I want to really explain the math and kind of give you some visuals of why it's so important to avoid those major losses. I think a lot of people also intuitively think that in order to kind of end up with the most amount of money over a long period of time in your accounts, that it's really more about making those major gains, right? So, at our firm, what we've noticed through conversations, hundreds of times over, is that a lot of people think, again, to get those accounts up, it's all about these major gains when those good years happen. But again, these visuals, this math, and our financial tip of the week is going to teach you that really it's more about avoiding those major losses. And I'll tell you, the way to start this conversation is probably from my friend Warren Buffett again. Warren once called compounding interest the eighth wonder of the world. And if you've paid attention to Warren's career over time, he hasn't been wrong terribly often. And I would say that he was once again kind of right on the money here. So again, I'm kind of a visual person. That's how I learn. I'm kind of a visual teacher. So I want you to take a look at this image right here. And really what you're seeing is a series of numbers. And what it's telling you is if you lose a certain percentage of your portfolio, what percentage gain you have to just to get back to even. So if you look at an example, right over here, if you lost 25% of your portfolio, you need a 33% rate of return just to get back to even. And I'll give it to you in numbers. Maybe that helps it understand a little bit better as well. If you had $100,000 and you lost 50% in year one, you'd be down to $50,000. So if you made 50% in year two, that means you only made 50% off of $50,000, which means you'd only be back to $75,000, right? You're not back to that original $100,000 that you put in. So one of the things that's hopefully being shaped right now that you can see is that while you may have quote-unquote lost 50% one year and you may have quote-unquote made 50% one year, this isn't equal, right? Those things are not equal. You're not back to even. Now this next visual here is going to kind of tell the same story in another similar way, which is again kind of showing you that if you have certain percentage losses, right? If you lose money and then you kind of make an average annual return for a period of years afterwards, how many years does it take to get back even? So we're kind of showing you a couple visuals here. This one I think is really going to help it stick in too because it shows you how many years you need to make these different returns just to get your account back to even. Now I want to switch to one more visual here and really kind of drive this story home. What you're going to see is just a real hypothetical example, and we're looking at the S&P 500 index here, right? What you would think of as the stock market as a whole, and we're looking from 2002 all the way through 2013, so a 12-year stretch. You're seeing $1 million starting value, and then those percentages are just what did the S&P 500 do each of those calendar years? What was the total return? Now, if you look at this 12-year period of time, you'll see there's only two bad years, right? 2002 and 2008, those were two very bad years, but it was just two of them, right? The other 10 years were all positive years in the market, so more good years than bad years here. Now, when 2008 was happening and Lehman Brothers was failing and Bear Stearns and AIG and the whole world was melting down, if you manage not to panic and sell, one lesson here is that, yes, your accounts recovered okay if you just kind of stuck it out. Now, what you'll see on the left side is the exact same time period, the same 12 years, same S&P 500, same $1 million, except hypothetically here, what if you didn't lose money those two real bad years? But the trade-off was that you only made half of all 10 of those good years. So 10 times out of 12, the picture that we're painting for you is you only make half the returns that somebody in the market actually made. 10 times out of 12, just to not lose those 2 years. What you'll notice is at the very bottom here, you actually finished with slightly more money. Now that seems hard to imagine, and it shocks most people we show this to. 10 times out of 12, you could only make half of what somebody else makes in those good years, but it's all about avoiding those major losses. And hey, right now is the most important time as ever to get a second opinion on your portfolio. So give us a call, come to our website, and we are happy to help. And stay tuned for more Retire Right with Epstein White.